Nearly a year ago, we were in China to see how the world's most populous country leaned on other nations to meet its growing food needs. While China has become the major player when it comes to soybean imports, agricultural goods from Nebraska are exported all over the world. We recently sat down with Garbacz from the Nebraska Department of Ag to take a look at a few of his recent international trips, including his latest to Turkey.
We were invited by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to join on one of their agriculture trade missions. It was headed by Deputy Secretary of Ag Michael Skuse, and it was a fantastic trip. What they did was gave us an opportunity to look at a market that we haven't really looked at very much. People don't hear much about Turkey. Traditionally, that's been over the years off and on market for our dry edible beans. So we took our companies from Nebraska, a representative from the Nebraska Dry Bean Commission, and went, and it was just excellent. We had an opportunity to see some of our beans in the market. They also import a lot of hides. They have a large tanning operation, and so we got to see a little bit more of that, and we got to realize that we've got a potential big problem there as far as our grain exports there.
Such as?
They just passed a law that said that they will now have zero tolerance for GMOs. And I don't know much about the science other than the fact that when you have a GMO product and it comes in contact with a non-GMO product, it will absorb some of the stuff. And so when a test would come by, it would show a very minute part, but it would show some GMO properties.
Sure.
So this could be potentially a big issue, and we're going to be working with USDA and some other people and see if we can resolve that. The grain traders there who we met with while we were there, Cargill, Bunge, all that have presence here in Nebraska, are very concerned about it. So we're going to be working with them to see if there's some way we can help that.
Now, just a quick aside, you were there during a bit of a tumultuous time. There were some protests there. You're safe, though.
Absolutely. It was very, very localized in the one square. We heard about it a lot when I was doing emails. People that I knew, my family, would always say, "Are you all right?" We're watching CNN, and finally I turned on CNN and realized what everybody was seeing, and we were never in any danger. It was very localized. The Turkish companies are concerned, because they don't know how the final resolution is going to be. But as far as we were concerned in our work there, we were affected, and we weren't affected at all.
You're also doing some work in Japan, reintroducing a product from Cargill, a Spencer beef. Explain to me kind of how that trip went. Greg Ibaugh, some other representatives from Nebraska were there. Talk to me about that trip.
Yes, Greg went over there with the Cargill people, and Spencer beef was a product that was doing very, very well in Japan prior to the BSE issue. And even after the BSE issue was somewhat resolved, they still only allowed beef from cattle under 20 months. We had an issue trying to get enough of that, so they didn't want to reintroduce that Spencer product until they had the quantity that they needed. Once in February, they lifted that up to 30 months. Then Cargill decided they were going to reintroduce it. The Spencer beef product is a higher-end beef product, only produced in the Schuyler, Nebraska plant. And so we were very excited about that. And so we worked with them. We did two very large events, both in Tokyo and Osaka, that Greg attended to help promote, help reintroduce, get our importers, our distributors excited about it again. Obviously, we served the product there. It went over very, very well, and we're looking for that product to gain hold very quickly in the very near future.
Tell me about Singapore, the JBS product that you're working with there.
JBS has a product they call 1855, another premium product. It's produced in Grand Island only, and they've done very, very well in Hong Kong, and here again Singapore has gradually been reopening the market for our beef, and so we worked with one of the largest importers there and did several events over the course of a couple days to reintroduce that product to the public. Here again, that went over very, very well. People really do like U.S. Nebraska product, and when they get the best of the best, they're very excited.
Well, speaking of, you have some delegates coming from London. They're going to be looking at Nebraska beef, and it's an interesting situation because they're huge fans of Nebraska beef, and so are their customers. Explain to me why.
The Goodman Group has been a growing customer over the last couple of years. They have a very high-end restaurant. They've been voted #1 or #2 steakhouse in the UK over the last couple years. And they bring in boxed beef, they have their own dry aging closets in their restaurants. The prices of their steaks are posted on a chalkboard every day according to the market demand and the market prices. But anyway, several years ago, one of the owners and the top manager and executive chef for the group came to Nebraska to not only visit with the plant that they buy all their beef from, but also to understand better why is the beef as good as it is. And after being around for 3 days around the state, going everything from the cow-calf operations to our feedlots to our grain producing where the corn is produced, they said, we need to really bring our managers and our chefs here so that they can understand this also, so they can go back, train their wait staff. So when their customers come in and say, this beef is good, but why is it so different? They'll be able to tell them firsthand. So we're getting the third group now. They come every year. And they're going to see quite a bit of the state where our producers are extremely cordial. They're very inviting. They treat them very, very well. So not only do they see the story, but they understand the culture of who Nebraskans are, which really goes a long way with them.
And finally, we've talked about Chinese investment before. I know there are some representatives coming from that nation here to look at a few investment opportunities. What are some of them?
We have been working with the Paulson Institute, and I won't go into that right at this time, but it's given us an opportunity to work with former Secretary of Treasury Paulson in finding people in China that are looking to do some investments or help that process. And back in January, we met with an individual from one of the organizations that's a government organization that is responsible for that. As a result of that, they're bringing a delegation of agricultural people from the Ministry of Agriculture to the United States. They're going to Washington, Chicago to meet with the Paulson people, and then they're coming to Nebraska to look at not only our investment opportunities, but our agricultural environment. And so we're going to take them around again to show them some of the agricultural facilities we have, and then sit down on roundtable discussions and talk about what potential opportunities we have. One other one we're working with is Bright Foods. Bright Foods is a very large agricultural food company, and they're interested in finding a place in the United States to put a dairy, both the dairy and the processing facility. And so I've met with them a couple months ago, and we're hoping that we get them over here to see what the advantages are to be in Nebraska agriculture.